Today, when I passed the University of Melbourne's garden and saw a paper tree which have leaves like caterpillars, it reminds me of the previous time when my mother and I sat under the walnut trees to discuss the magic of nature. More previously, I remember when I was a child in primary school, I was full of curiosity about the plants in front of my house, especially the tree at the entrance. Its roots were thick, and the branches were covered with countless leaves and flowers, which looked like the caterpillars. Sometimes the tree flowers fell to the ground or on my head naturally. This filled my young mind with curiosity and asked my mom, what kind of the tree is one at the entrance, and why so many here? My mother thought for a while and asked, Yao, the name of the tree is a walnut tree, which have leaves in the front of my house since I was born. In the spring, it will bloom with flowers that look like the caterpillars, long and fussy, hanging in clusters on the tree tops. After the flowers wither, they will fall to the ground. Then ask, why do they fall from the top and not other place, like fly into the sky or left and right? My mother thought for seconds and said, let us play and do an experiment to figure out it. My mother asked me to search for apples and fallen flowers, and then took me to the walnut tree. After that, I was asked to hold the apple on my left hand and the walnut flowers on my right hand, and then realize them naturally at the same time to observe their falling process and results. Eventually, it turns to be walnut flowers would float for a hole before falling vertically to the ground, while the apple fall faster vertically to the ground. My mother said this phenomenon was discovered by a scientist named Newton, was called universal gravitation. I believe the walnut tree that I mentioned earlier is not only a symbol of my previous place of residence, but also a witness to the history and vicissitudes of life for my mother and older people. As mentioned in L'Oreal, trees not only establish a direct relationship with children when they play for the first time, but how it's always around people in the past and present. A tree could influence people at different times and provide interaction that go beyond the present moment. Also, when my mother did the experiment under the tree, it shows my mother tried to use the place of the walnut tree and have some aids as a way to teaching science and mathematics to understand why the tree walnut blows fall vertically to the ground. For the intellectual perspective, everything will eventually fall naturally on the ground due to the universal gravitation. For ethical perspectives, we should encourage to respect the law of the nature. This has been explained in L'Oreal article, where the teacher can use complex and entangled plays as a way pedagogy to develop engaging pedagogical approach for students to reflect pedagogical perspectives, such as intellectual, ethical perspectives. Plus, I think my mother also cultivated my cognition of this place, my curiosity about nature by talking me discover solve problems in nature environment. For example, Pello mentioned learning stories, exploring science and learning names can develop conscious awareness of places. Equally as importantly, according to Lee, exploring and interacting with the nature environment through outdoor math play can provide a fun way for young children to gain knowledge and math principles. I think my mom promotes a more visible and transparent discourse on abstract concept. It shows objects of different weight don't fall freely at the same rate by playing experimenting with walnut tree interactively.